Okay, welcome everyone. Eli Bedrosian, licensed professional counselor here in Arizona. Title of today's video is Get On Up or Get Down, a note on feeling better in ways that make more sense. This is the part B. I'm going to jump right in here. Lots of different ways that we as people regulate ourselves. Some of it's beneath our awareness. Some of it is very intentional. For some of us, we are seeking activating or stimulating substances or behaviors. For some of us, we are seeking things that help us to calm and frankly sometimes to kind of numb out or check out. And it's a pretty normal thing for us to be doing that, right? To be searching out ways of regulating ourselves, helping ourselves to feel better. The question becomes, am I doing that in ways that make sense in my life, right? Or am I doing things that have more negatives than positives for me? It's useful to ask somebody that am I kind of on a path of destruction, or am I doing okay with some of the ways that I am helping myself to feel better? Is it sustainable for me? Is it a longer term investment in myself and my relationships with other people, right? Is it congruent with my values to my core, right? Some of the things I think that can be useful is building in the moment awareness of what is going on. I'm a believer that when we slow down enough, when there's enough quiet, we can dial in and tune in to some of the things that our mind, brain, and body are asking of us, right? So for instance, maybe it's that I'm looking for social connection. I'm craving to have a good conversation with a buddy. But what I do when I have that feeling maybe is numb out with my phone, or I go have a really sugary drink or something like that instead. So can I get better as a skill of dialing into what is it actually that I need, and then meeting that need in ways that make more sense in my life. And sometimes that process is about undoing habits, not so great habits, to get my needs met, and creating better habits for myself in my life. The pacing in our life, I think, is really critical. For me, when I'm going super duper fast and I don't ever have a break with things, it becomes challenging to be with myself, to notice what it is that I'm looking for, to notice what it is that's important in my life, and am I getting my needs met in ways that make sense for me. The quality of life tends to reduce, right? So there's a certain pace that makes most sense for me, and I think that's true with everybody, right? Not too quick, not too slow. There's kind of this range. Sometimes I can go faster, but then at times I need to be able to dial it back. A big thing is, addressing trauma, addressing addiction, compulsive behaviors as needed. And I say that it's obviously can be a very complex thing, and can take time to really address those things thoroughly, depending on the trauma, depending on addiction or compulsive behaviors. But that's a thing that I think is really important when we're speaking about how we are feeling on the inside and regulation. Other tools that can help is where we place our attention is really important, and just remembering that we have some control over that. So I'm a believer in mindfulness. I'm a believer that having some awareness of where I'm placing my attention is really important as far as how I'm feeling, right? So sometimes it makes sense for me to shift my focus outside of myself. Sometimes it makes sense for me to just sit with body sensation, feeling emotion, and to be with that. Sometimes it's okay for me just to distract myself, right? I think that's can be a short-term technique that sometimes is useful as well. 5 senses. So being aware of how sensitive or not sensitive we are to things in our environment. So is the lighting really grating? Is it soft and comfortable for me? How do I do with textures? Are the things that bother me as far as socks or tags or things like that? Are smells really strong for me, right? And then as far as temperature, as far as other things like that, whole body experience, noticing what is bothersome for me. For some people, going into a store with lots of people can be overwhelming because it's like sensory overload. And so just paying attention to that, because when we have more awareness of our own regulation, mind, brain, body, we have more control and become better at giving ourselves what we are needing. when we have more awareness of that, right? So it might be sitting in a dim room helps me to calm my nervous system. Listening to a soft piece of music helps me to calm my nervous system, right? Or listening to a fast piece of music if I'm feeling kind of low and I need a little bit of a boost, right? So all that stuff is important, and it varies from person to person. So I'm a big believer in creating, right? So if it's journaling, if it's writing, if it's poems, if it is painting, if it's drawing, whatever it is, if it's, to get the energy out, a lot of times can help us to get up when we're feeling down, get down when we are feeling up. Movement, I'm a big believer in movement. So it can be slow, mindful movement. It could also be fast-paced movement, right? Again, to get the energy out. But how present am I with myself when I'm doing that, I think is a big part of, of helping us find that sweet spot as a skill to help myself feel better. With all of this, as I mentioned in part A, it's skill, it's learning, it's understanding ourselves better. Each of us are a little bit different. And so just having some graciousness with ourselves as we're becoming more of a master of our own self-regulation.